you get it all. A choice of 4- and 5-star hotels, amazing ancient ruins for culture-packed days out, hiking and cycling trails for active adventures, and plenty of blue flag beaches for soaking up that winter sun. Book Cyprus now with just a £60 deposit. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. APRA and ATOL protected, subject to availability and conditions.
Casa Bacardi is back, bringing a party with an unmissable lineup and tasty rum cocktails to London. With Bacardi's new Sound of Rum crew, featuring live sets from One Nason and P Money, MCing from Harry Pinero, and loads more. The perfect recipe for an epic night out. Casa Bacardi at Box Park Croydon on September 14th. For more info and to get your tickets now, head to boxpark.co.uk. Do what moves you. Over 18s only. Drink aware for the facts.
At the Bank of Antandek, they're looking for a mascot.
We need an icon. Something that says high flying to all our mortgage customers.
Like a falcon or a stallion.
Or even better, a parrot. Check it out.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they're concentrating on helping customers find ways to take years off their mortgage with their overpayment calculator. See what's possible at Santander.
All applications are subject to status and our lending criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things and strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings and
Now there's a whole range of strings and things called Strings and Things, including cheese strings, yollies, and new cheese shapes. Find them all in the cheese and yogurt aisle.
strings and things.
Shares of Livongo are down sharply, as you can see right there this morning. This after reporting its first ever results as a public company. Livongo's founder and executive chairman is Glenn Tolman. He joined us on the day of the company's IPO, and he joins us now again exclusively to discuss the company's second quarter results. Mr. Tolman, nice to have you with us. The stock is down sharply. The reason that at least seems to be, certainly one of the key reasons, I should say, is what analysts are citing as lower adjusted EBITDA guidance as a result perhaps of your expense guidance. And the market may perhaps be digesting what is some incremental spending that was not expected. Is that your understanding, or would you like to sort of communicate more to the marketplace now, given you've lost 20% of your value?
Well, I think it's always hard to predict what the market's going to do on any given day. There were a lot of expectations, and appropriately so. You know, we reported a very strong set of earnings today. Our total contract value was up 200%. Our revenue was up year over year 156%. And so from that perspective, our customer count is up every metric we had, and we increased our range. So from that perspective, I think the one area you mentioned, we did have IPO expenses. We may have underestimated them slightly, and we're continuing to invest because of our dramatic growth. So we see very strong results. We're going to continue to see them because we're addressing the largest challenge that we have as a country, and that is the chronic condition problem. So from that perspective, we're all go, all forward, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Right, all fine. And of course, the company is growing quickly. Nobody disputes that, but it is all about expectations, as you well know. Is there something that people are not understanding in terms of this expense guidance? You mentioned costs related to the IPO. Is that what we're talking about here, or is there an additional expense perhaps that had not been anticipated by those who follow your company?
Yeah, we don't see any material expense difference. That, you know, we are in line with the budgeted numbers we have. You know, it's always tough to assess the exact guidance of the various analysts who follow us. But from an expense perspective, we continue to invest. We have our AI engine that is driving our marketing. Our acquisition numbers, member acquisition, are up. We reported more than 192,000 members, and that continues to grow. So everything that we see on our own internal dashboards are green. I think there were great expectations for the company, as there should be, and we expect to continue to fulfill those expectations. We haven't changed any of the longer-term guidance that we put out there, and as I mentioned, we actually raised our short-term guidance in terms of quarters. So The idea is to
Glenn?
meet and beat every quarter, and we've done that.
Glenn, am I seeing correctly that you've still got about $400 million in cash on the books?
We do. That's about roughly that's the right number. Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe a little bit more than that. Tell me, how has the sales cadence been in an environment where some people are talking about caution for business investment? Are you still seeing customers sign up or get into the pipeline at the same rate that you were before?
We are. In fact, as I mentioned, our TCV is up 200%. We're seeing customers across each of our segments, across our commercial segments, our payer and provider segments are up. Our government sector is up. So across the board, we're seeing great results. And, we had reported the signing of a very large customer. We expect to have later this quarter, we'll give more visibility on that. We're waiting for some final approvals, but from a business perspective, we continue to see everything moving forward in a very aggressive fashion, and we continue to be very pleased with it.
Glenn, given the fact that the company is growing as much as it is, your path to profitability, when do you expect Livongo to be turning a profit?
Well, I think we've said we'd be EBITDA positive in 2021. We haven't changed that at all. And, anytime you're building a SaaS-based recurring revenue business as we are, you're making investments up front. We have an incredible competitive advantage in our data science, our AI engine. And as you look at the great companies that have been out there that have built businesses based on a consumer-first, data-driven business, you do have investments up front. But we bake those into the numbers. We don't expect those to change. And we continue to be highly confident about our 2021 EBITDA positive predictions that we put out to the market.
Well, Mr. Tolman, we appreciate it. We'll be obviously watching. Stock is off the lows of the morning. Glenn Tolman is the CEO of Livongo. Also, by the way, you can catch Glenn and other CEOs, you're welcome, including Drew Houston of Dropbox, Bernard Tyson of Kaiser Permanente, all at the CNBC events at Work Summit. That's on November 19th in San Francisco. Oh, sorry, what?
November 4th.
November 4th. John Fort will be there, and he's very excited about it.
I can see that. He's throwing his pen around.
I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to signal. Not the 19th, it's the 4th. Yeah, it was wrong on the prompter.
Very rowdy on this desk right now.
Plus, I got butterfingers.
All right. Well, European markets are just closing, and Seema Modi joins us now with a breakdown of today's action overseas. Hey, Seema.
Big move here, Morgan, and big move in Europe. Markets in Europe rallying following gains across Asia and renewed hopes of progress between the United States and China on the trade front. It is those trade-sensitive sectors, even in Europe, tech and autos, that are the two standouts in today's trade. Even industrial names like ThyssenKrupp are moving higher despite news that German manufacturing orders fell more than expected in July. There are also two strong earnings reports to take note of. First, it's France's defense giant Dassault Aviation reporting a sharp rise in profits for the first half of 2019. It maintained its full-year target. Rising demand for business jets in the U.S. really helping its bottom line growth. While Melrose Industries, another stock to take note of, this is the British industrial turnaround specialist. It says that it was fighting off the broader industry downturn through cost-cutting measures, and that stock is up 8%. A quick check on the British pound, adding to yesterday's gains against the U.S. dollar following back-to-back defeats for UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson last night. British lawmakers passing a bill to avert a no-deal Brexit and then rejecting a motion to hold early elections. Pound holding on to 123 against the dollar. John, back to you.
Seema, thank you. Now let's get to Sue Herrera for a news update. Sue.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everyone. Here's what's happening at this hour. A Taliban suicide bomber in Kabul killed a U.S. service member, a Romanian soldier, and at least 10 Afghan civilians in a busy diplomatic area in Kabul. This is underscoring the Afghan government's warnings that a peace deal on ending the war is moving too quickly, and it marks the fourth U.S. service member killed in the past 2 weeks. Russian President Putin says Russia and Ukraine are moving in the direction of a prisoner exchange. This after speaking to a Ukrainian lawmaker on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok. Dozens of Argentine activists camped out overnight outside the Social Development Ministry in Buenos Aires. They want the government to ramp up state benefit programs. The demonstrators say that they are being suffocated by government austerity. Back here at home, former White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a book deal about her time in the Trump administration. St. Martin's Press announcing her memoir will come out in the fall of 2020, fueling speculation that she may be planning a run for governor in Arkansas. You are up to date. That's the news update this hour. Back downtown to Squawk Alley. Morgan, back to you.
Yeah, something to watch right there. Sue Herrera, thank you. Coming up, Vox partnering with DraftKings just hours ahead of NFL kickoff. We'll ask Vox Media Chairman and CEO Jim Bankoff about that next. And of course, still a lot more ahead on today's market rally. Take a look at that. The Dow's up 434 points, 1.6%. The S&P is also up 1.3%. The NASDAQ is up 1.6%. We'll be back after this break.
ServiceNow put our workflows in the cloud. This changes everything.
At Tesco, we can pop our pasta in your Astra, our red Leicester in your Fiesta, or our mayo in your Mondeo. All you need to do is try Click and Collect. Just go to Tesco.com, order your shopping, then click and collect. With the minimum basket spend now only £25. And if you fancy something a little more exotic, we can even put our pad thai in your Qashqai. Try Click and Collect at Tesco.com. Every little helps. Selected larger stores. Booking charge may apply. See online for full terms and conditions.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
Did someone say winter sun? It's that time again. And this year at Jet2 Holidays, we're saying Cyprus. On this incredible island, you get it all. A choice of 4- and 5-star hotels, amazing ancient ruins for culture-packed days out, hiking and cycling trails for active adventures, and plenty of blue flag beaches for soaking up that winter sun. Book Cyprus now with just a £60 deposit. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. APRA net or protected, subject to availability and conditions.
Casa Bacardi is back, bringing a party with an unmissable lineup and tasty rum cocktails to London. With Bacardi's new Sound of Rum crew, featuring live sets from One Asen and P Money, MCing from Harry Pinero, and loads more. The perfect recipe for an epic night out. Casa Bacardi at Box Park Croydon on September 14th. For more info and to get your tickets now, head to boxpark.co.uk. Do what moves you. Over 18s only. Drink aware for the facts.
At the Bank of Antandek, they're looking for a mascot.
We need an icon. Something that says high flying to all our mortgage customers.
Like a falcon or a stallion.
Or even better, a parrot. Check it out.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they're concentrating on helping customers find ways to take years off their mortgage with their overpayment calculator. See what's possible at Santander.
All applications are subject to status and our lending criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
Welcome back to Squawk Alley. Stocks continue to rally with the Dow up over 450 points right now. Biggest gain since June 4th. The Dow's now within 2% of its July all-time high. The S&P less than 1.5% away from its July record high. Joining us now to discuss all of this is senior markets commentator Mike Santoli and BMO Capital Markets chief investment strategist Brian Belsky. Good morning to you both. Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Taking a look at this market right now, your thoughts?
It's a round trip back to July 31st. I think what August did is a couple of things that the market's feeding off of right now. One is it really front-loaded a lot of these recession fears. Bond yields collapsed, the whole inverted yield curve obsession. You really did have a lot of people clenching up in advance of economic weakness that wasn't yet in the numbers, and that turned investor sentiment, I think, very defensive and skeptical. So when you got a, well, things don't look so bad outcome from the domestic data, still expecting a quarter-point Fed rate cut, and bond yields are so much lower, so therefore debt is cheaper and the credit markets are okay. I think the stock market is just reversing a lot of the safety trade that people rushed into in August. Doesn't mean it continues up and away from here to huge new highs, but it does suggest that maybe in the short term, people got a little bit over nervous.
Brian, how sustainable is this, especially when you see this rally based so much on just the fact that we got confirmation of renewed trade talks between the U.S. and China? Nothing fundamentally has actually changed, and based on the talks we've seen previously this year, we don't really know that they're going to be successful. They haven't been in the past, right?
No, again, we'd caution you should never base your investments on a tweet or rhetoric or whatever. This has been a one-way train to negativity in the month of August. And for all intents and purposes, think about this. Investors have been mostly negative all year long. Yeah, we rallied to new highs in the market. But every time there was any kind of bad news, and Michael talked about this, everyone became super defensive. And if you just simply look at fundamentals of areas like consumer staples, which are no longer stable, their earnings growth has dropped off dramatically. Utilities in the United States are the most expensive asset in the world in terms of valuation, and dividend growth going away. And REITs have been a place that people have been hiding. REITs we favor over the other two defensive areas, but one-way train investing and making binary decisions causes days like this and months like August. And so we see a great opportunity to add to money center banks, because they will not be impacted on a fundamental basis like the regionals in terms of net interest margin. And just in terms of earning stability and overall growth, communication services and technology remain our two favorite sectors in terms of stability of growth.
Mike, no deal Brexit looks more unlikely. Situation in Hong Kong at least seems to be moving somewhere.
Yeah.
Not toward violence, at least at the moment. How much of an impact is that having?
I think it's. I think the psychology is important related to those things. When you have those things combined with the fact that it's not going to be a further escalation, it seems, in the short term of the trade war, those were things that kind of got thrown on top of a market that was already nervous, and it caused people to think that what was really a shakeout or a bit of a pullback in risk assets was really foretelling something bigger, where there was going to be these big kind of destabilizing events geopolitically. And I do think that we can step back from that a little bit and just sort of reassess and say, okay, fine, if we assume those things are not going to really completely, break loose in a systemic way, then we're back to sort of valuing stocks against bonds and slow growth but not no growth in the U.S. economy.
Brian, when you look at markets at these levels, when you take into account some of the commentary we've gotten from Fed officials this week, what continues to be something of a mixed bag of data, although maybe a lot of that data not as bad as anticipated, other than some of the manufacturing numbers we've gotten, what do you think it does in terms of push the Fed policy later this month and beyond, and is the market ready for it?
Well, for all intents and purposes, the more likely outcome is the Fed is going to cut by 25 basis points. But again, Morgan, you got to take a step back and think about corporate America and the industrial base really never added to any CapEx. They took the tax cut and they bought back stock. The influence with respect to what's been happening in terms of the industrial base has not changed the last 4 or 5 years. CEOs can remain excessively conservative in terms of spending money. Again, almost 70% of the economy in the United States is the consumer side, and consumer, it still looks very, very good, and that's why the non-manufacturing ISM will look well. And remember, too, on the ISM, just because it dropped below 50, all that means is that the economy in terms of the manufacturing base is not expanding. And oh, by the way, we already knew that. So the strength of the economy is going to be the consumer. And remember, too, if the Fed cuts by 25 basis points, that actually helps the consumer, really the strength of the economy. So again, we think the U.S. is actually exquisitely positioned with respect to every other place in the world, especially Europe and the U.K. So for instance, on the U.K., this Brexit stuff, over the last 10 years, the UK's percentage of GDP, world GDP, has been cut in half from 3% to 1.5%. And European Union's GDP has dropped 700 basis points, while America's percentage of world GDP has remained stable. So we still think the U.S. is the place to be.
All right. We'll leave it there. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us to break down this market rally today, Mike and Brian. When we return, Vox Media CEO Jim Bankoff right here at Post 9. We're back in 2.
Delivering Alpha, the most important investor summit 9 years running. Strategy from leading alpha generators. Direct access to policymakers and government leaders. On September 19th, see who's calling the shots now. Go to deliveringalpha.com to attend this year's blockbuster event.
You will come away with ideas that you can put to work immediately.
Plus, special guest Vice President Mike Pence talks economy and trade war impact. Reserve your spot now at deliveringalpha.com.
It was Sophie's big day.
At Tesco, we can pop our pasta in your Astra, our red Leicester in your Fiesta, or our Mayo in your Mondeo. All you need to do is try click and collect. Just go to tesco.com, order your shopping, then click and collect. With the minimum basket spend now only £25. And if you fancy something a little more exotic, we can even put our pad thai in your Qashqai. Try click and collect at tesco.com. Every little helps. Selected larger stores. Booking charge may apply. See online for full terms and conditions.
With a welcome bonus from the no annual fee British Airways American Express credit card, your next getaway's not far away. So whether it's welcome to drifting down the canals of Amsterdam or bienvenue to midnight strolls in Paris, say welcome to a European adventure. Spend £1,000 in your first 3 months of card membership and get 5,000 bonus Avios. That's enough to get away to Europe sooner. Search BA Amex to find out more. Representative 22.9% APR variable. Applicants must be 18 years or older, subject to approval. Terms, taxes, fees and carrier charges apply.
This one shouldn't take long. Of course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
I'm getting strawberry notes and a flutter of sweetness without adding sugar. Clever. It is. Yazoo Kids chooses a lactose-reduced milk that enhances flavour without adding sugar or artificial sweeteners. Milky deliciousness and packed full of goodness. Very clever. Strawberry Yazoo Kids supports change for life. Yazoo, shake it up! Contains naturally occurring sugars. Milk is a source of calcium, which is needed for the maintenance of normal bones.
Did someone say winter sun? It's that time again. And this year at Jet2 Holidays, we're saying Cyprus. On this incredible island, you get it all. A choice of 4- and 5-star hotels, amazing ancient ruins for culture-packed days out, hiking and cycling trails for active adventures, and plenty of blue flag beaches for soaking up that winter sun. Book Cyprus now with just a £60 deposit. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. APRA net or protected, subject to availability and conditions.
On the halftime report at the top of the hour, trade headlines, they are sparking this huge rally, but should you trust it? Better than expected results, a raised outlook, and a ton of upgrades today. The stock is on fire. It is your call of the day. And a very special guest, U.S. Open champ Andy Roddick is here. He's on a mission to help get young people to invest, and he will serve up some of his best investment ideas. All of that and more right around noon on the halftime report. John, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Brian, thank you. And now, Vox Media's SB Nation editorial operation that covers sports, teaming up with DraftKings sports betting operation this morning, announcing the launch of DraftKings Nation, a multi-year editorial and technology partnership designed to offer exclusive daily fantasy and sports betting content to its users. Vox Media Chairman and CEO Jim Bankoff joins us now right here at Post 9. Jim, welcome.
Hey, great to be here.
So explain how this works. It doesn't seem to be advertising driven in the way that most of Vox is. What's the business here for you?
Well, happy to announce first day of the NFL regular season today that we're creating a great service for sports fans. I don't have to tell you and your audience that sports betting and interest in it and interest in daily fantasy is at an all-time high, expected to grow even more as it becomes legal in more states. DraftKings is a leader in providing the actual gameplay, whether it's DFS or increasingly more in the sports betting space. And we're the leader when it comes to creating content about things that sports fans are passionate about. So the simple idea is let's come together and create great content, not only for people who bet and play, but even if you don't, like you're curious, you want to know what the lines are, you want to know who the favorites are, you want to know what the prop bets are. So we're going to create original content based on the ethos and the tone of SB Nation, which hits about 65 million people every month, leader in the sports community space, lend our expertise, Vox Media's technology, and DraftKings leadership in their space. The business model is going to be continuing. Actually, we are going to have advertising with DraftKings, and we are seeing is that not only do people love to play these games, but marketers love to get in front of people who play these games. And so I think together we can kind of help solve a problem for them, which is to leverage our scale and expertise and our technology, and together create a great service for sports fans.
But it's not mostly advertising based, I take it. I mean, they're paying you, right, to produce the content that helps draw eyeballs?
We're going to sell advertising to marketers, and of course they're in the game business, and so they're going to get new customers as well.
All right, so I'm going to borrow a question that was a headline from a Recode article on Vox back in February. How long before big media companies become big sports gambling companies? I ask you that question with this news today.
Yeah, well, we're not, Vox Media is not going to get in the sports gambling business. That's a regulated business. That's what DraftKings is really good at. Our partner over there, Ezra Kucharz, came to me with this idea. But you're absolutely right. Like I saw an announcement with Fox. We see ESPN. We see other players, media companies getting into the space. So I think absolutely the marriage of media and sports gaming together is a powerful one. And I think it's best done when companies like ours stick to what we do well, which is create great content, create big communities, draw big audiences, have advertising solutions, and companies like DraftKings do what they're a leader in.
There's a plethora of content already out there for the average sports fan online. So what will distinguish your content in terms of why and how it services this particular segment, which you're talking about as sort of somebody who's more likely to bet on a game?
Well, SB Nation has always been unique. We call ourselves more fan-focused. What it means from a business perspective is we're not only are we always like among the top 5, along with, say, ESPN and Yahoo in terms of reach, but we're the only ones that are not affiliated with a sports league. We don't have rights deals where we have to cover things in a certain way. We can be true to the fan philosophy and what the fans really care about. So we're not part of a big media conglomerate. We're not a sports league ourselves. So what that enables from an editorial perspective is to speak honestly, to cover things in the way that fans really want to talk about, to dive deep into communities. Our network is different than others. We're not just one brand. We have the leading sports community for every team. So if you're here in New York and you're a New York Giants fan, you might know us as Big Blue View. But if you're out in California and you're a San Francisco 49ers fan, you know us as Niners Nation. Both of those are leading communities. So that's another distinction. It's not just talking to all sports fans with one voice. It's talking to you and your passion.
How tough is the digital advertising market right now? I mean, there were a couple years ago efforts to build on Facebook. The Verge was working on some things along those lines. There was this move toward, video in advertising, which seemed to work well for a while, but now seems to be getting kind of constricted. How tough is the business?
Well, you've noted that there's always change, and I think every single industry is being impacted by technology. You have to be on your toes. You have to be ready for change. Media more so than any others. Having said that, for companies like ours that we're now well over ComScore around the 100 million uniques size, and for companies like ours, we're seeing that the combination of scale and quality matters. I do think it's tougher for smaller companies that might be subscale, and you see that happening with local news, unfortunately, providing a vital service, but really struggling with the business model. So you see change everywhere. I think it's particularly having impact on the subscale players.
Is that a consolidation call?
I think it is a consolidation call, and I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before, but we see it happening. We've acquired 2 smaller companies ourselves this year, and I think we'll continue to be on the lookout for organic investment, partnership, and M&A activity.
All right, that call is still out there. Jim Bankoff, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, good to be here.
Stocks rallying in a big way this morning, with the Dow having its best day since early June, up 437 points right now. We got a lot more on today's upswing just ahead. Stay with us.
Consistency delivers.
At Tesco, we can pop our pasta in your Astra, our red Leicester in your Fiesta, or our mayo in your Mondeo. All you need to do is try click and collect. Just go to tesco.com, order your shopping, then click and collect. With the minimum basket spend now only £25. And if you fancy something a little more exotic, we can even put our pad thai in your Qashqai. Try click and collect at tesco.com. Every little helps. Selected larger stores. Booking charge may apply. See online for full terms and conditions.
This one shouldn't take long. course, if it had a cover, I might not be bothered. Can't see what's under there. And then they'd have chained the back wheel. It would have taken me much longer, especially if the chain's off the ground. Makes it harder to cut. This one doesn't even have a lock on the front. So, in the time I've been talking to you, I've nicked it.
Over 9,000 scooters and motorbikes were stolen in London last year. Lock your bike, chain the rear wheel, and cover it to make it harder to steal. Lock, chain, cover. The Met Police.
Did someone say winter sun? It's that time again. And this year at Jet2 Holidays, we're saying Cyprus. On this incredible island, you get it all. A choice of 4- and 5-star hotels, amazing ancient ruins for culture-packed days out, hiking and cycling trails for active adventures, and plenty of blue flag beaches for soaking up that winter sun. Book Cyprus now with just a £60 deposit. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. APRA net or protected, subject to availability and conditions.
Casa Bacardi is back, bringing a party with an unmissable lineup and tasty rum cocktails to London. With Bacardi's new Sound of Rum crew, featuring live sets from One Asen and P Money, MCing from Harry Pinero, and loads more. The perfect recipe for an epic night out. Casa Bacardi at Box Park Croydon on September 14th. For more info and to get your tickets now, head to boxpark.co.uk. Do what moves you. Over 18s only. Drink aware for the facts.
Let's get to the CME. Rick Santelli has the Santelli Exchange. Rick.
Thanks, John. Obviously, it's a big day in stocks, and many eyeballs, rightly so, are aimed in that direction. But there's another hot marketplace today, and it is the long maturities. It's actually all maturities. Interest rates are moving up. But I like to concentrate this one in particular on the long end. Why? Well, think about a whip, okay? What part of the whip moves more? The part closest to my hand or the part at the end? Of course, the part on the end. Remember when we used to ice skate when we were kids? We'd all grab a rope and we'd swing around. The person that had the most fun was the person on the farthest end of the rope. That's where all the gamma is. That's where all the action is. And to that end, you know, calling a reversal in rates after the August we had is really a long shot, and long is the word of the day. Let's go to the whiteboard, okay? Now, I included some other maturities, but just to give you an idea, yesterday's close in the 2-year was 143. Guess what the cycle low is? 143. Where is it now? 155, a big jump. 10-year note yields, 147 closed yesterday, 146 cycle low on the 3rd. Where are they now? 158. These are big moves. But now let's look at the 30-year, the long end. Right now it's at 207. Its low is 195, and 207 is almost up to 209. We'll get to that in a minute. And the 30-year Bund, which really got me on this topic, has had a huge day. As a matter of fact, right now, it's slightly positive. It hasn't been positive in a month, and today's the first day it sort of rocketed there. And rocket's the word. Yesterday it closed at minus 15 basis points. This is a big move for 30-year Bunds, and its low was minus 27 not that long ago, the 15th, mid-August. All right, let's go to the board. Now, the longest maturities are key in my opinion, and we've done this many times. 10-year note yields in 2012 and 2016 in July basically at a double bottom right around 137. It is literally a game of chicken between 10s and 30s, because if 10s violate this before 30s get back up and above their significant July 16 bottom at 209, then I think we continue to go down. But we haven't done that. As a matter of fact, the opposite seems to be occurring. Should we close above this 209 before that occurs? I don't care if it's a long shot or not, and it might not be the bottom. And big Augusts have big reversals coming back the other way, but this is a significant day. John, back to you.
Rick with the whip as a prop. What a Santelli exchange.
Rawhide, there you go.
Stock surging. Another triple-digit rally for the Dow this morning, looking for its